It is time for us to move on to our final session of the day. Our fourth session is how LSP models can enhance PSL lending. This session will explore the potential of loan service provider models to facilitate priority sector lending and drive inclusion. Our speakers will offer insights on how to maximize these partnerships for impactful results. To shed more light on this, I would like to invite our panel on the stage. Again, beginning with the moderator, I would like to invite Mr. Bhavik Vasa, founder, GetVantage. A huge round of applause, everyone. Mr. Bhavik is a seasoned entrepreneur and two-time founder, honored as a Business World 40 Under 40 Achiever and FinTech Asia 200 Fellow. With over 18 years of international experience across FinTech, digital finance, and startup ecosystems, he established GetVantage and GetGrowth Capital, India's first capital getaway and embedded finance and growth capital platform dedicated to supporting emerging small businesses. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
Now, our panel of speakers, beginning with Mr. Anil Pinapala, founder and CEO, VVFin. He is a visionary fintech entrepreneur with over 20 years of experience, focused on innovative solutions for non-prime borrowers. He pioneered the first cloud-based lending platform in the US, and now, as the founder of VVFi, is dedicated to creating accessible credit options for underserved markets. We welcome you, sir. Our next panelist is Ms. Riddhi, co-founder LXME. Ms. Riddhi is the co-founder of LXME and University of Warwick alumna. Has over 15 years of experience as a 2X founder in fintech and e-commerce. Through LXME, India's leading financial platform for women, she promotes financial independence and has earned notable global accolades. We welcome you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Ms. Tanya Chadha, Chief Business Officer, Ugro Capital Limited. Ms. Chadha is a distinguished leader in digital business and strategic alliances, currently serving as Chief Business Officer at Ugro Capital, where she leads digital business strategies and key partnerships. With over 19 years of expertise in financial services and technology, Ms. Chadha has previously held senior positions at IDFC First, Kotak Mahindra Bank, Ratan India Finance, and MS Swipe. Known for her strategic focus on revenue growth and operational efficiencies, she holds an MBA in Finance and Strategy from the Indian Institute of Planning and Management. We welcome you, ma'am. Our final speaker for this session is Mr. Deepak Jain, co-founder Flexi Loans. He holds an MBA from the Indian School of Business and is a chartered accountant with over 11 years of experience in investment banking and management consulting. Previously working with Access Capital and JSW Limited, in 2016, he co-founded Flexi Loans, a digital lending platform focused on providing financial solutions for MSMEs across India. Under his leadership, the company has disbursed over 7,000 crore, empowering more than 50,000 MSMEs across 2,100 towns through a fully digital, bench-free model. Recognized in Fortune India's 40 Under 40 list, in 2022, Mr. Jain continues to drive financial inclusion, making accessible financing a reality for underserved MSME nationwide. We welcome you, sir. Now I would like to hand over the mic to the moderator of the session.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so I think we are the last session for the day. And the only request I'm going to have my co-panelists is, let's make this interesting. Let's talk a little bit of tech. We had a session before this, which was a lot to do with co-lending and regulations and a lot of legal jargon. But we are not going to make this session any easier. I think thanks to the regulator, we have so many more acronyms coming out every day, right? thanks. You know, the name or the title of this session is also LSP, PSL. So, you know, on that note, I have to thank the RBI for DLG, which gave birth to LSP, for the PSL. You know, having started on that humorous note, let me also start with some optimism. I'm very privileged to have co-panelists here who are leaders and founders who've been building fintech and tech-driven businesses. We all are also regulated, have NBFCs, are working with NBFCs, and there's this nice confluence of technology first, financial services and lending. And that brings me with great optimism. As you heard, yes, I love to be introduced as Bhavik Vasa, founder of GetVantage. But even more, I love to talk about the fact that I am a part of the Indian fintech industry because we're supposed to talk about what is going to be the use of AI, ML, and other acronyms, and the use of technology in increasing or being able to exponentially grow lending in this country. But when we talk about AI, which is the buzzword, yes, the Western markets and the US has given AI to the world. But as a fintech founder, what makes me the most proud is that after the India stack, we gave UPI to the world. And having already digitized payments, I'm also even more proud to talk about what we're going to do next in digital financing with giving Open to the world, Open Credit Enablement Network. And I think it's really these interoperable networks that brings the ecosystem together and really creates inflection points. And we're going to talk about these inflection points because for a lot of years and decades, we've heard that MSMEs, agri is considered priority sector. But fir bhi, why is there still such a large credit gap? Right? Let me ask all of you guys one small trivia. Let's see if all of you all are still awake and active. 110 million. Can anybody tell me what does that word mean? What does that number mean? 110 million. MSMEs in the country? Itna bada time nahi hai Deepak apna. Hai? Sorry. Anybody else? 11 crores. That's a good translation. Yes. We need to Indianize our numbers also. Absolutely. The employment that the priority sector, 110 million is the employment generated by this sector, and hence the importance of this sector to the Indian economy. We have big aspirations, sir, from being a 3 trillion to a 5 trillion to a 7 trillion economy, right? And we've always had these small businesses as the backbone of our country. And so here today on stage, I'm even more proud. I have my colleagues, Rahul and Priya, in the audience to really announce that priority sector is taking front and center. This segment is getting all the attention, right from the government to the ministry to the regulator to all of us as the ecosystem players. And a great initiative that is just been launched called the Priority Sector Lending Association of India, PSLAI, a much needed body to really get 5x growth to this Indian economy and generate that much of jobs, wealth, and overall creation. So on that note, I'm really going to get started by really bringing Deepak to share a little bit about his journey, a quick background, Deepak, on Flexi Loans, but more importantly, also touch upon from being a very early player, as an early fintech, NBFC, how have you seen things evolve over the last few years?
Hello. Thank you, Bhavik, for laying the whole how things have evolved and why priority sector is super critical. To some extent, what the gap we saw in the priority sector is the reason why I left my investment banking job and started Flexi Loans in the first place. I'm born to a jeweler and a money lender. As I grew up, I saw a lot of entrepreneurs coming to our shop and give us gold and borrow, take money, and they would not mind paying 3%, 3.5% interest rate. They give one currency, they're taking another currency. And yet they are, and the LTV, which the other currency which was given was also lower than the LTV of that gold which was given. So, saw that. Then as I was doing a lot of IPOs and QIPs for banks, saw the level of under-penetration in terms of current accounts being opened by many of these MSMEs, the number of loans being given to these MSMEs was super, super low. And everybody, including Mr. Vaidyanathan, I did the QIP for Capital First, they so wanted to go after this segment because it was super under-penetrated. So we said that, okay, why is this under-penetrated? So this is a small trader, wholesaler, which is the backbone of Indian economy. They on an average generate 5 to 7 employment, like, you know, each of these retailer or trader will generate employment opportunities for 5 to 7 people, and you know, yet they are borrowing from money lenders. So why? So the reason was the documentation required back then for getting an MSME loan was super, super complex. For getting a 5 lakh rupee loan, one, it was not called business loan. Majority of the banks called it a PL. Anything below 7 lakhs was called PL. It was not called a BL. And I'm not talking about, you know, I was with Axis, spoke to Rajiv, you know, back then. It's called PL. It's not BL. The documentation was exactly similar. You know, if you are an entrepreneur, you need 3 years ITR, etc., for a 5 lakh rupee loan. Now this guy, you know, he'll have to run to his CA for a 5 lakh rupee loan. He's like, I don't want to waste so much amount of time. So let me go to a local money lender and borrow. That was the answer. So we saw this opportunity. I did a Reiki. I traveled all over the country along with my co-founders, met a lot of small traders, you know, associations, and saw there was a massive, massive opportunity. So what we came out back then was flow-based lending. We said, okay, you just give us your bank statements. That's how we'll figure out your ability to pay. We'll look at your bureau and figure out your willingness to pay and give you the loans. We'll keep it absolutely simple. 2 documents, your KYC, and we are sorted. We created those journeys. Now, the googly way was, none of these entrepreneurs had PDF bank statements, or they couldn't download PDF bank statement. So the industry has evolved significantly in the last 8 years, you know, thanks to amazing work done by many of the PSU banks here as well, you know, including SBI, etc., where they made the apps, the bank statement apps, so easy now to download and give it to us, to an extent that almost 65% of the bank statements we get today, and we are disbursing roughly 350 crores a month, 60% of the bank statements we are getting are through account aggregators. So the industry has evolved a lot. But I remember calling these customers and telling them that, okay, why don't you go to the nearest branch and I'll speak to your branch manager to help you get the bank statement to us. So those are the kind of days what we have evolved from. To NACH, you know, getting those NACH printouts and getting those NACH forms filled. And, you know, the NACH registration is to take anywhere between 15 days to 60 days. Some of the PSU banks, it took 90 days, and by then you collected 7 checks, 8 checks, etc., etc. So the industry has evolved a lot, but yeah, the opportunity was massive, and you know the impact which was available for founders like us was massive. Just fast forward 8 years, you know, the numbers were mentioned. We've disbursed 7,000-8,000 crores in loans to micro entrepreneurs, and one thing which I'm extremely proud of, we stayed true to our mission. 75% of the loans which Flexi Loans is giving is in tier 2, tier 3 towns. With a single office in Bombay, we've disbursed loans in, you know, almost 2,000 plus cities and towns across the country.
Lovely. So branchless is possible and getting only more possible in a country like India now. I'm going to come back to you on another question, Deepak, but let me bring Tanya in quickly. Tanya, you know, we're talking about LSP, we're talking about priority sector. You represent UGrow, which is possibly the only MSME-focused listed player in the market. You all have powered a lot of collaboration. Talk us through how you see the evolution of this priority sector, how large is it, and how are you penetrating it through partnerships, through collaboration. One small disclaimer, we're great partners and collaborators, so they've been great, and I vouch for that, but talk us through how you've seen this model evolve for you as a very focused, only business lending player.
Thank you, Bhavik. I'll take the pleasure of saying that it's been a pleasure working with you. And I'll take our example. to explain how, the partnership model has changed way for lending to MSME segment. The value that you add as a partner today to a lender is your ability to understand alternate data, the ability to understand business cycles, which allow us today to take a large unsecured exposure to an MSME, SME segment, which was not possible earlier. Apart from a certain ticket size, any SME would want a higher loan. Everybody used to ask, property hai? Ya gold rakh sakte ho? But gone are those days. And this is how we have evolved, and thanks to you as a partner and the entire world of collaboration, where each one of us today adds value and learns from each other only to cater to the segment.
No, I think we're being able to together create this mindset, and I think one takeaway for everybody in this room, and I would like to reiterate what Deepak and Tanya said both, gone are the days of traditional concepts of collateral and secured, right? Having machinery, having a piece of land was considered to be collateral. I think a lot of us now, as fintech first, as players using real-time data, we really think that it's this real-time data and live monitoring that's the new security. That's how we need to redefine the term secured and collateral. And at the same time, I think we've touched upon cash flow based, right? How do you really understand the health of a small business? Not by a rear view mirror of the last 3 years of their performance, but as Deepak, you said, what is that cash flow of how he's getting his cash flows, how is he getting his monies in his bank account? And this cash flow based financing has to take front and center if we have to be able to close that gap of the need for credit and access to credit. And we've seen some of this evolve in the personal lending space as well. And so, Anil, I'm going to bring you in. Please tell us a little bit about your journey, your business, and how you evolved from looking at personal lending to now business lending and MSME lending.
Thank you, Bhavik. Just a quick background about myself. I spent 15 years in the US subprime lending space before I moved back to India, looking at the opportunity that India presented. And there is a large unserved and underserved segment in India. And I keep saying this to everybody, the subprime segment in the US is a segment of hopelessness. In the sense, everybody who had a lot of credit, made bad decisions, is beaten out of the credit system is subprime or non-prime in the US. In India, this is a segment of hope. This is a segment of opportunity. The subprime or the non-prime borrower in India is a borrower who never had the opportunity to get formal credit and never had the opportunity to grow their personal life or a business. So that's the shift I made from hopelessness to hope. And that's what drove me to come back to India and start Vivify. Obviously, our first blush with offering credit in India was with personal loans. And there is a huge underserved and unserved segment on that side, even among salaried professionals, which was larger 6 years ago. And is continuously getting bridged. But when we started out our business and we started addressing these consumers, we started to look at our book, and there was a large self-employed book in it. People who were coming to us and applying for loans, and we were primarily, our product initially was called Flex Salary because we wanted to kind of give earned wage access kind of a solution to our consumers. But then we realized 20-30% of our consumers are actually self-employed. They are, I'll throw one more acronym, OPEs. They are one-person enterprises. Sure. So they have their own cash flows through which they are financing their businesses, and they didn't have access to credit. Their only access to credit is a local money lender or somebody. And so they started to apply when new age lenders like Deepak was mentioning, we all came into place and we started to look at cash flows. We just found a way to lend to these consumers. But we were still lending to them more like more like an income for an employee. And we realized if we really have to touch and improve the credit to this segment, we have to start treating them as businesses, as I said, one-person enterprises. And I will add another alphabet to the MSME, which is N, which is the nano entrepreneur. So these are the customers we are focusing on. And you said we have to look at cash flow. The beauty about cash in India today is it's not cash anymore. It's all digital. It's all UPI-driven transactions. And Deepak mentioned 60% of his business is account aggregator driven. Almost 75 to 80% of our business is customers giving us access to their bank statements through which we are able to analyze their digital flow of cash, through which we are able to underwrite and offer them credit. And if you move slightly up the segment, you can triangulate that with the GST invoices, plus the credit bureau data wherever it is available, has created this powerful flow of data that can now be leveraged to offer credit to a large segment of Indian population which has traditionally been left out. And that's where in the last 12, 18 months we have focused, we have built tools and customer segments and offered them credit. So, I mean, we are, probably I'm the oldest on the stage, but we are the youngest business lender here. And we are here to challenge the, obviously the traditional banks and all, but also the incumbents. And I see Deepak and Tanya as the incumbents. And we would like to challenge them and offer solutions to segments that are not being serviced by them as well.
No, I love that you're throwing the challenge, but I think the challenge here is really for all of us to be able to collaborate, because I think we all are now starting to talk the same language. And I really urge a lot of bankers, large wholesale lenders, if you're in the audience, please start internalizing what you're hearing us as sourcing partners, as LSPs. And our role really is triangulation of data, as Anil said, right? Can we really take real-time data of GST, bank statements to see cash flows, and one more digital source of revenue, right? And you really get the real health of that business. The power of this triangulation of data, looking at cash flow-based financing as an alternative to more the traditional secured. I think that's what we are challenging, and that's what we are fighting all against. And with that comes this another interesting sub-segment under PSL, right? We talk about nano entrepreneurs. Anil, good you brought that up. You know, I was with, spent a lot of time with the ex-chairman of SIDBI, and it's also good to see someone like SIDBI also really talk about and highlight and focus on saying we need interoperable networks like Oaken to be able to drive even access to credit to these nano entrepreneurs, these gig workers that we are seeing take up shape in our economy. And amongst that, of course, is our women entrepreneurs. Riddhi, you have to come in. Tell us a little bit about the business, how you all have evolved as a platform for women, and where are the differentiated areas that these nano entrepreneurs, these women entrepreneurs, these micro industries really need access to credit and capital.
Thank you, Bhavik. So it's really an interesting conversation. I think we've touched on some amazing points. So I'm going to just take one step back. Firstly, priority sector lending, right? We think it's underpenetrated, obviously, and it can create huge impact. MSMEs, like we discussed, in number are huge, and the employment it gives is huge, right? That's why it's priority sector. But this perception is also there that it's a niche sector. So whenever we talk about women entrepreneurs, or opening up credit to this sector, people are like, oh, it's great you're servicing that niche sector. It's not a niche sector. 50% of this country is women, and the other 50% is given birth to by them.
No, sorry, I have to humor this, because I'm sure Deepak has heard it. I keep hearing a lot. You know, we keep getting investors asking us, "Tumhara TAM kya hai?" And we're like, credit and TAM and MSME and women.
Exactly.
I think.
Exactly, right? So there's obviously huge scale, huge impact. It's just, it's not a low-hanging fruit, because in lending, there's mainly two things, right? One is getting a person to come borrow from you, and second is getting them to pay you back, right? And women are not part of traditional platforms or even modern platforms. Of course, they're not going to banks because they're scared to take loans. They don't know how to apply for loans. Even the newer digital platforms, though we are 50% of the population, increasingly working, increasingly homepreneurs, gig workers, we're not going and taking loans, right? And that's because they come with a very different mindset, different socio-economic conditioning that needs a different approach to first get them to apply for loans, right? And that's where a Lakshmi, so we run a financial app called Lakshmi for Women. And we started as an Ask, Learn, Invest platform, a wealth tech platform. But increasingly women came and told us, we love what you're building, we trust you, we want to do everything here. We want to borrow on your platform, we want to do banking, payments, everything. And that's how we've evolved into a banking, like into a rather money app for women, right? And the first is getting them to come and be comfortable taking a loan. There's a lot of fear, right? So generally when women are taking their co-borrowers, when they come as a co-signee because the man is not getting a loan, and we all know they're great borrowers, they pay back. There are no NPAs, they're very disciplined, in every actually aspect of money, they're great savers. So that's where Lakshmi comes in. We're a platform that is attracting women to come in, right? What we also do is then tell them why actually taking a loan is important. Generally, there's like, a credit card is great, it's a sign of prestige, but you've taken a loan, oh gosh, it's negative. Especially women have this fear. So what we say is, no, actually it helps you build a credit score. So it's not necessarily a negative thing. So we try and rework firstly that socio-economic conditioning in a platform where women already are feeling safe, already trust us, right? So that's one area where I think Lakshmi and platforms that are catering to women and their unique needs help. The second thing is actually understanding, one is that ability to pay, in understanding whether you'll get your money back. One is ability to pay, second is intention to pay, right? Women, whether they have the ability to pay or not, will pay you back. It's just they have that fear, they have that innate discipline. So how do we understand that intention to pay and convert it to what a regulated entity needs, right? And that's where platforms like us help, right? So intention to pay, everyone knows women will pay, they're very disciplined, all of that. But they might not show the ability to pay on paper, right? That's when alternative data on platforms like us comes in. What are the blogs they're reading? What are the live sessions they're doing? What is the learning they have? Do they have mutual funds? How disciplined they are in their SIP payments, right? So there's a lot of alternative behavioral data that we can use. Like we said earlier, there was only kitna salary aa raha hai. Now we're looking at account aggregator. Luckily, we've got GST. In the middle, there was social media, which I always question. But something like how good they are at investments, how well are they planning for their children's education. So we have to enable, loans. And a lot of women, when they become homepreneurs, when they start these businesses, it's actually to improve their family situation. It's to earn enough to be able to give their child the best education, right? So if we enable credit for them, we're improving their business, but we're also improving the entire family's standard of living and the economic opportunity they're going to get over the next generation, right? So using alternative forms of data that women have, that would not be a GST, but would actually be how disciplined she is in her savings and investments and FDs, for example, is what platform for us enable credits for the women's sector.
Lovely.
Initially, for us, because we started with the e-commerce, we started embedded financing as we call it today. We used to call it B2B back then. And we started like e-commerce, payments, all these guys.
Yeah, I had to add a word for going and raising money after you. Na?
So when we were doing e-commerce, and I vividly remember talking to one online seller, like because initial days, all the founders, we'll talk to customers a lot more than we do today. I remember talking to this customer and telling her that, we will not need your father or your brother as a co-borrower. It's okay, your basis, your cash flows, you're eligible for a loan. And why don't you apply? And it was a game-changing thing for her.
No, I think what Deepak and Riddhi, what you're highlighting is alternative forms of data, right? And not just social footprint, but actual other financial data and financial footprint, as we call it. And I think the emergence of that is what the role the LSPs will start playing, because we clearly know there are a lot of lazy balance sheets out there, right, that need to find deployment. And I think that's the role we play. But here I'm going to change this up, and I'm going to ask all of you all to be honest, including all of you all. We heard about women entrepreneurs intend to pay, or the women's intend to pay. How many of you all, or hum sabne shayad, because we are all in the same industry, हाँ, कौन सी ऐसी एप्लीकेशन या डील आई थी जब अल्टीमेटली अंडरराइटर ने भी बोला कि कुछ नहीं, take the mother as the co-borrower, take the wife as the co-borrower and approve kar denge. Raise your hands. If that was the last resort where we said, add the mother or the wife as the co-borrower and we will disburse this loan. I think we have evolved from there on.
I just want to add something while you were explaining, how disciplined women are and how it adds value. As lenders, we have also seen them as risk mitigants, which you have just very rightly brought out. Ki get a woman on the structure, and yes, the loan will be approved. And that's the power.
No, and what's evolving is the real role of LSPs like us is to build programs with unique data, with unique regional strengths, with unique strengths on sectors. And I can tell you at GetVantage, we run a very women-focused corpus, funding women founders, and the data says it. We co-lend a lot of that with UGrow. We've had negligible, and I really can't even put it in a percentage, negligible default in the women portfolio that we've been funded. So data backs it also. It's just not a human bias, so to speak. I think one of the aspects to bring about is, great, there is opportunity, there is new technology, there is new data. But some things have or haven't changed. For this industry to grow, not only demand and the technology and the underwriting has to improve, but supply has to improve. Deepak, I'm going to ask you to come in and, Tanya, then, please add some color. Challenges of co-lending. Has that been solved? We heard this panel on co-lending. NBFC with bank, abhi bhi khali traditional products mein hi chal raha hai, right? Easy products, same file going through the same DSA to 5 banks, then co-lending. But what has not changed and what has changed, Deepak, in co-lending? And then Tanya, please chime in.
So, couple of things. See, the young tech-led NBFCs will always be slightly more agile than slightly, like for example, Anil, you rightly mentioned, if you're launching something, you will always be more agile than where Flexi is, in its journey. And thus, banks need to have that open mind that, okay, if they are building something, let's look at that for a couple of cycles and then back them. That's still not changed in a significant manner. For us, we first partnered with a bank, back in 2017. I don't know how many people were doing co-lending back then. And 3 months into the partnership, we spent almost 6 months integrating with that bank. 3 months into the partnership, we realized it's not working. We need to change gears. And we went ahead and partnered with 3 NBFCs. And that's when the co-lending scaled for us. So the micro or the nano entrepreneurs, where the real impact is, while the government of India wants banks to go out and do those lending, except now under CLM2, under CLM1, it's very difficult to scale it with banks even today. Because of the kind of processors, the kind of filters they'll use, etc., etc. The second big letdown is, even for PSU banks, that this whole mindset that unless you're rated A, where unless you're as capitalized as UGrow is, you're not rated A, then they will not even partner with you for co-lending. So PSU banks is where a lot, I will not call it lazy money, that's where a lot of money is there. And they need to deploy it because the treasuries are so big today. They're sitting on massive treasuries and money out there to be deployed. So for them, and unfortunately even the people who are running the co-lending, they want to partner with people like us. But there's a diktat from the top that it has to be rated A. And until that happens, they'll not partner. So to me, that one big game changer decision has to come, where if you have a fantastic track record, your track record of credit costs, say over 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, the PSU banks need to start partnering with, more younger NBFCs. For Flexi loans, it will happen, soon, but more younger ones also they need to partner. Otherwise, the real impact which co-lending can make will take a lot more longer to happen.
Tanya, your thoughts?
So, UGrow is a lender which does both downward co-lending as well as onward co-lending, and I had the downward co-lending. In fact, I always tell this to everyone, we taught co-lending to the market. We were, I think, so the first ones who started this from our downward co-lending experience. And the biggest USP, and one thing that we have also learned over the years is that if I ever tell a partner to change their sourcing because I understand only ABC, there is no point even signing up the document. We will end up signing contracts and we will keep, filling up our cupboards. We will never start business, we'll never scale up. The entire idea or the entire purpose or essence of co-lending is to understand the business of your sourcing and servicing partner. And then value add by giving capital, guiding them. Please understand, if I look at, we have a lot of regional NBFCs as partners, trust me. And we do a lot of macro nano loans. My ticket size today varies from a 50K to a 5 crore. So we cater to all kinds of SMEs. So, if I tomorrow tell them that no, I can only look at partnering with you, one, when you get a rating, two, when you only get me a banking GST customer, three, when you get me a business which has minimum 3 to 4 years of vintage, why will anyone even look at YouGrow as someone who can value add to their business? No one. So this is the skill we built, and we built over the years. We understood this. We partnered, where we started to drive our, sourcing patterns. It never scaled up with us because he's not come to me to change his style of working. So this is one of the most important, learning, and something that today we implement across the partner is that understand their business, see what value add you can do. Today, public sector banks have, annual targets to fund to startups. And trust me, Bhavik, you are, one of the best engines to feed that. But we are trying to get that understanding. But, that is what is needed.
No, I agree. I think, like Deepak, you said, and Tanya, there's a lot of capital out there. I think we just have to be able to change the lens of how it's seen. In fact, so much so that the technology is available. Today, as NBFCs, as tech-enabled NBFCs, we are able to do live co-lending. And it's not even just fancy tech. I don't want to throw around words like API and STP and AI, ML. It's as simple as saying, when we raise equity, we can have one document with multiple shareholders coming in. Why can that not simply happen even in a digital disbursement for a small ticket size loan? Right? I think it's just these basics that I am sure the industry and the ecosystem is going to work together to have to take it up and solve for it. I think very quickly and in a sense of time, what I want each one of you to be able to quickly highlight and share is give us a wish list or two, right? And we don't have to get on the regulatory and compliance side because as industry players, we'll always have complaints. But I think what I want to hear is basics more important yet to make the market happen? Or are we using new technologies like AI, alternative data? What different ways are we being able to be more branchless, paperless, digital, and being able to collaborate? What are still that one or two top wish lists that you would want to see change to be able to take this market 5x? And for you to be able to be called an incumbent quickly, then this being the challenger. Riddhi, if you would like to go first?
Okay, so the first thing from a simplification point of view is I think if we could simplify the whole KYC process, right? There are so many KYCs for wealth tech, then for borrowing, then for FDs. It's the different KYC.
Acha, hands up, any experts? Video KYC, CKYC, what is the latest circular saying? I'm confused.
Exactly. Then can you send the recent thing with PAN? You know, you can't send the data, you only get it. So it's complicated, right? So can we simplify the KYC across financial products and regulators? I think that would really help. Otherwise, the journeys are very digital. It's just they're very repetitive. The second thing is what I think would really help an industry like ours. Now, obviously, I think we've recognized huge opportunity, huge TAM, huge need, huge impact. But still, at least in our lending and for new to credit, right? In us, we have a lot of new to credit. And not because they're not working, spending, it's just they've not built a credit score. I think how do we get banks and not just NBFCs to service our sector? Because that will enable loans at better rates. And I think that issue is there. While we are still priority sector and we realize the impact, the rates are very high, right? So how do we kind of bridge the gap between having traditional forms for the new age sector we are looking at? How do we get banks and the bigger guys to give us rates where on alternative data? I think that would really help.
Yeah. And how you can remain a platform play and not have to get regulated but be able to work with the different REs out there. Yeah. I have one wish list for you, Riddhi, which is on the way out. I think I take away from our chat today, you spoke about it's sexy to have a credit card, but there is a huge downside to saying I took a loan. Exactly. I think to all of us and to all of us in the room as an ecosystem, forget the word loans, lending, let's call it financing, let's call it funding, right? Let's make taking capital sexier than the old incumbent perspective. वो बैंक देते थे तो मैं lender हूँ इसलिए I'll call it lending industry, right? I'm the lender and it's a loan. No customer, no individual, no business wakes up saying आज मैं loan लूँगा. They wake up saying मुझे inventory खरीदनी, मुझे capital चाहिए. I wake up saying I need growth capital, I need funding, I need financing, right? And I think onus on us as an industry. Deepak has raised a lot of capital recently. So he has to make this happen. And no, I'm genuinely sharing this as an open suggestion, not only to my panelists, but everyone who's going to take this back to their organizations. You know, mutual fund industry came together and really made mutual fund sahi hai and made it something, an aspiration. That has to be driven by us as an industry.
So we started video ads 6 months back. These are not TV ads because, you know, no point. Loan is a easy product to sell, right? You don't need to give TV ads for that. And the tagline is, loan nahi, tarakki samjho.
Yeah, lovely, of course. You have to change the rhetoric. Yeah. Love. And you know, it's interesting. We have an NBFC called Get Growth Capital, and our partner is You Grow Capital. And I think in itself is growth, right? I think we want to be able to together also. I was actually talking to Sachidanand about it, and I said, sir, you need to fund it, I'll come with the creative aspect of it. But no, I think we need to change this and make credit sexy. You know, in the US, right, it's not considered bad to be able to say, I have a payday loan, I have capital.
I actually just want to add one thing. So you're absolutely right. Credit cards, right? The wealthy don't need loans, but a credit card is just that. It's just rebranded to make it cool. I have a cool credit card that's got a higher limit on it. So a higher loan limit. But we have made, the ones who actually need it to grow, made it sound like a negative. So spot on, it needs a rebranding as growth capital.
Priyasmita, one more line item for PSLAI. Let's make business financing sexier.
Yeah, I think a lot of good points have been brought up, and I think what Deepak said is one of the most important things in the rating which PSU banks or banks at large look for, and having a rating structure where only A and above is considered important is obviously a big hindrance to growth, and especially if you're talking PSL where a lot of capital is sitting with the banks and you are wanting to partner for co-lending partnerships and you are trying to serve segments which have not been touched so far by formal credit, that becomes a big hindrance. But also the other thing is there is also only acceptance of traditional product structures where it is the same term loan, the same monthly EMI. If you want to do shorter term loans, or if you want to do weekly or daily payments, a lot of that becomes challenging. It is in favor of the consumer, it is in favor of the business, and businesses find it far more easier, unlike individuals, to pay on a daily or a weekly basis their loan obligations, and we need to evolve our ecosystem so that we are able to accommodate those variations and are able to do, I mean, it's important to do appropriate recognition of NPAs and payments, but the product structure should not scare a potential partner. And everybody needs partnerships, and we all need to have access to good capital to grow the businesses, not ours, but our consumers, so that the traditional mindset in terms of product itself and product structure should be something we should evolve.
Perfect. Tanya, wish list?
So before I give my wish list, I just want to quote something here. We all have heard about M-Pesa. They are very popular in South African countries. If I put the entire population of those countries where M-Pesa is, the banked population is at 40%. But the credit penetration is at 80%. That's the value of an LSP. So don't, discard without trying this.
Lovely.
So well said.
Superb. Deepak, last words.
So there is an amazing opportunity in partnering for LSPs like us on this side of the table with some of the best PSU banks out there and some of the regional banks. And because I've worked, the last two public sector banks which went public, I did those IPOs, Punjab and Sind Bank and United Bank of India. And I know the kind of presence they had there. I've worked with South Indian Bank for their fundraise. I've worked with Manappuram. So I've worked with some of the southern banks, Catholic Syrian Bank, etc., etc. So the point is that the kind of depositors base they have, the kind of customers base they have is so good and so deep, but they're not lending to each one of them. If they can partner with players like us, the kind of impact we can create on the Indian economy is just massive. I can say this, that if the collaboration which we are all talking about on the entire day today, if it goes to the real scale its potential is, with players like us on this side and PSU banks and the regional banks on the other side, no deserving entrepreneur will go underserved. And I think so that's the aim which keeps me awake in the night. That's the mission I am on, and many of us are on. So let's try and do our best for the same.
Yeah, no, that's exactly why I was looking out for the Resurgent team and Ashish ji, saying, jara PSU banks ko bolo ke rating nahi dekhe, thoda different lens laye. But quickly opening it up to the audience, any questions for the panelists? We've tried to keep this very candid. I wanted to get out the real stories, the real pains, the real challenges, the real opportunities. Please, sir.
Up to what amount do you think that the digital lending is good? Matlab, till what amount? Up to 5 crore, up to 3 crore? What is the max, what is the limit after which that you think that the digital lending fat jayega? This is the first question. मतलब
नहीं, आपने अच्छा वर्ड यूज किया. हाँ, बुक फटती ही है. हम जो भी बोले AI ML फटती है तो फटती है. No, and I'll just add one more color to this. I think Deepak, I want you to answer. Anil, I want you to definitely. Tanya, but sir, amount के पहले ना एक reality input है that digital lending guidelines are great. We have a proactive regulator. I had promised Deepak and my panelists I won't bring this up, but I can't stop myself by saying कि सर सबसे पहले तो DLG में ना consumer और business lending को differentiate करना है. Quantum secondary है. पहले अगर हम personal loan और business loan को separate कर दे, because the process is very different and the grievance is very different.
And the end use is very different.
The end use is also extremely different. So I think the first step and that's why I mentioned the PSLAI as an association, as a body, and all of us as a body, even we have to first be able to say, yaar, use case ke hisab se lending guidelines change karne. क्योंकि बिजनेस लोन बहुत डिफरेंट रीजन से फटता है और पर्सनल लोन बहुत डिफरेंट रीजन से फटता है. Is it for consumption versus for growth of business? Sorry, Deepak, you want to add?
So, Jyoti, what I would like to point out is there's nothing called digital loan. Digital is just a mean. What we have done is we have changed the mode of acquisition, but your underwriting has to be there, in some shape and form, which gives you enough confidence to give that loan. Whether you're lending 10,000 rupees, you're lending 1 lakh rupees, or you're lending 1 crore rupee. So, and like you, I'm a CA as well, right? So, our money is made as a lender when the last 3 EMIs are paid to us. In the last 3 EMIs, even in a 36-month loan. So then, you need to be sure, absolutely certain while giving the loan that whether this entrepreneur will make more money out of the money we are paying him or giving him as a loan, and thus repay our loan back. And then accordingly you set up the underwriting standards. So if you get enough and more digital data, you can do a verification which is slightly lower, physically. Or, if the data which you're getting is not enough for you to decide, then you increase the layer and go out and meet that customer physically and then decide. So it all depends upon the kind of data your engine is generating and the kind of confidence your scorecards are giving you while lending. Obviously, we'll all have NPAs, the best of the physical branch-led PSU banks or the best of the branch-led private sector banks are also having a lot of NPLs in the retail book, right? So NPAs will happen no matter what, but you have to try and reduce that over decades of your existence, because we are all here to do this a decadal business. Lending is not a business of few years. The startups are forever now. If we are able to create that kind of organization, we'll have to keep learning every quarter, every 6 months, and change our underwriting method, change our models to ensure that we are avoiding the bad loans and we are giving more and more good loans.
Bhavik, can I just add one more? Deepak, excellent answer. Just wanted to add one more flavor to it. Till what point do you think you will, आपका जो calculation है, that digitally or whatever that calculation you are doing, you will not look for the collateral till the point that you have faith on the balance sheet and the cash flow lending. I'm just asking कि cash flow lending आपको लगता है कि किस amount तक do you think that the cash flow lending is good, and beyond that the cash flow lending के बाद we can ask for the collateral.
So again, it depends on two things. One, your size as a company. So for example, like Flexi Loans is say X thousand crores in asset under management, and we were a few hundred crores not many years back. The risk appetite as an entity changes. So that's one answer. You need to keep your maximum loan ticket size collateral free, unsecured, depending on where you are in terms of size of the company. The second is the kind of customers you have. So if the customer is a fantastically large MSME where you locked escrow on the cash flows, you can do a few crore in sale loans as well. The kind of business which Bhavik runs. If you're locking the cash flows where, few crores are coming into your bank account every month in the escrow account, why not? So it all depends on what kind of customer you have on the other side of the table and what kind of collateral, if not absolute physical collateral, some cash flow collaterals do you have in place.
Sir, Tanya already mentioned it also. 5 crores the players like Ugrow and us are doing in either co-lending completely. Sorry?
Guarantee backing it up. Without guarantee.
What guarantee? No. This is outside the guarantee backing program. This is purely on securing their revenues and cash flows and dropping escrows. Purely unsecured business loan up to 5 crores is happening right now.
See, this is what is, when we talk about MSME, SME lending, somewhere we always miss out on understanding the business. It is not a plain vanilla product out there in the market that today anyone can be eligible for a larger ticket size of an unsecured loan. Having said that, there are people who can be eligible for a larger ticket size on unsecured loan, as long as 1, you understand their business, 2, you have control on the cash flows, 3, we all understand that every business, we understand the concept of business cycles. To To mitigate the risk, you ensure that you don't take an exposure where you end up, going through a lot of business cycles together with the customer. And that's what the value adds are today with alternate data, with the digital platforms like GetVantage. These are the value adds they provide. You may not go out in the market and source a customer and give him a straight of 5 crore loan as unsecured. But you may give it to him when it comes with the power of data, understanding of business, and other variables. Why not?
Sir, even
like
the
to add
corporate
one
guarantee schemes haven't come down till the NBFCs yet easily. It's a very difficult process with SIDBI to get plugged in. It's not straight through. Wahan bhi rating, vintage of NBFC, the premium that you have to pay to try to collect 75%. Tanya is already smiling. She knows it's rather not going through that process and really having technology tap into. And that's what's... So the form of security we are taking, sir, is security on their future receivables. If you as a lender have first rights on the future receivables of that business, quantum is irrelevant. You can do higher quantums. If the receivable cycle, if the vintage shows that there is a very large receivable cycle and you've tapped into that channel with technology, that's what you can do. But that's the quantum that's working right now. Any other quick last question? I think we have just time for one last question. I see one hand up there.
First of all, I would like to appreciate it's a wonderful session. I would like to ask a few questions to Mr. Deepak Jain, from co-founder, Flexi Loans. Sir, what's the portfolio of your NPA bad loans? And moreover, I would also like to ask that it's quite easy being said that we have been looking at only the cash flows and taking the KYCs and we have been giving the loans. So we would also like to know about your journey of the bad loans. What the lessons you people have learned, the kind of percentages of bad loans that turned at the initial points to the day through the process you have grown. What are the kind of precautions you take these days? And since it's been said few minutes back that you have been managing from one office to collect the recovery from different kind of parts of India, I mean, what and how you people are doing that and with the NPA percentage as of now? Thank you.
Sir, before Deepak answers, please can you introduce yourself, your name and organization?
Yeah, my name is Arpit. I am from Punjab National Bank.
हाँ ठीक है. So अगर आप co-lending करने वाले तो वो आंसर देगा.
नहीं. भाविक, आपने बहुत अच्छा सेशन किया. ये NBFC की साइड से चल रहा है, तो being from the other side of the
it's a fantastic question.
ये हम जानना चाह रहे हैं. Kindly don't take it the other way around.
No. I was just making humor.
बुरा मत मनाना इसका. But we also want to learn and want to see that kind of journey transition so that there are so many things for we also to learn along with.
So
Thank you.
It's a fab question if you ask me, and I'll just add one more line from what Jyoti said earlier, that to what extent you decide digital or what are the loan sizes you do. See, as a lender, and lenders, as I said, it's a multi-decadal journey. Neither Punjab National Bank nor SBI can say that they've learnt it all. And they've been lending forever, right? So who is Flexi Loans to say that we understand the underwriting models to the T? No, we don't. But are we learning? Are we evolving quarter on quarter in a very disciplined manner? And I tell a lot of our senior management folks that we are in the most boring industry. Don't make it adventurous. This has to be the most boring industry, but you have to put your head down and say that, okay, you're getting X number of customers. Are you putting your head down and cutting the bad cohorts quarter on quarter? So, and then decide your focus. So, for example, we used to do loans up to 1 crore. And we used to do loans less than 50,000 also. Today, we don't do less than 1 lakh and we don't do more than 25 lakhs. So you decide on the segment you want to focus upon as a lender, basis your underwriting models getting trained. So that's first, generic answer to where we are saying. Specifically on the credit costs, in better cycles, we are at 3.5% annualized credit cost. In worse cycle, we are at 4.5% credit cost. And that's, our roughly our 8-year journey summarized. Now, there can be some years where the 4.5 may become 5.5. There will be some years where the 3.5 will become 2.5. But to us, our underwriting models and our real numbers are predicting on those sides. We're building it in a very, very frugal manner, where if you look at, while we have invested a lot in technology, we've had a massive engineering team since the beginning. But you look at our capital raise and our net worth, it's more or less similar. Not many fintechs out there can say that, because we built it very frugally. As I said, from day one we knew that if we can't collect our last few EMIs, we'll not be able to make any money out of this loan. I'm not selling soaps here. I'm giving a loan. I have to collect the last 3 EMIs. So we never started lending in a PIN code if we didn't have an ability to knock on the doors of the customer in less than 48 hours after the customer goes bad. So to answer your last question, that do we have the collection ability? We ensure that before we open a PIN code, we have an ability to knock on the doors of the customer. Now, it can be our employee or it can be an agency's employee to whom we have trained and monitored over the years. So we ensure that to the last mile we have ability to collect. When I was saying completely branchless, I was talking about origination. For origination and underwriting, we don't need branches. For collections and talking to agencies and traveling with the agencies, we have employees all over the country. So that's one area where we have differentiated ourselves starting 2017. We had a hub and spoke model starting 2017.
Yeah, I remember.
That has worked brilliantly for us across cycles. So I hope I've answered, because it was a longish question, so I hope I've answered most of the pointers which you
No, and I was genuinely appreciating a really good question. And I think, Deepak, kudos to you for being able to publicly answer some of these very, very sensitive
Luckily,
data
these
points.
are there in the rating reports.
No, it's only inspiring. It's only inspiring me to share that more openly as well. But to also share and add one more color, just like Deepak's business, as an NBFC, even we are completely branchless in origination. I have always believed, even while I built a business called It's Cash, which was a payments business before this, India mein na sir, phygital model chalega. You have to always embrace both. You cannot completely be one. It's just the percentage of how you embrace the other, right? So also to your point, sir, how we look at DLG and for business lending, digital lending, there's a huge difference. It's not about one click. In fact, I think all of us will agree, business loan mein you don't need an instant. No business wants 10 lakh rupees with a press of a button in 30 seconds. That's not their requirement. The process has to be digital. There will be certain physical elements in that process, right? Whether you want to do a personal discussion, whether you want to have an underwriter or a human eye double check what the system has given back as data, right? So there is also a throughput approval, and there is also what is known as a analog approval, which is 80% digital, but there is a 10-20% physical leg to it as well. So even when it comes to collections, sir, what I wanted to highlight is what a lot of us have put in place is जब आप cash flow based disburse करते हो, जब आपकी underwriting change हो जाती है, सबसे पहले तो if your lens changes and you'll start looking at your cash flows, the value of data, and I keep telling this to people, it's not कि आपने physical document लेके scan करके उसको digital कर दिया तो digital journey हुई. Our origination journey starts with plugging in and pulling data live from the sources of the business. तो उससे क्या होता है, when your data is coming from the real source, it's not only during the application, underwriting and disbursement, but collections में it helps in the EWS. The early warning signal and that module in reality helps जब I am connected to that business's GST, I am connected to its digital streams of revenues. भाई उसका Amazon में कितना sale हुआ, उसका payment gateway से कितना revenue आ रहा है, you can connect the pipe and see that. So your EWS, your early warning signal, things will go wrong. Like Deepak said, like all of us agree, lending is a difficult business. Things will go wrong. But if you can catch it in real time and be able to take corrective measure faster than waiting for a quarter or a month end when you actually get the MIS or when you get the quarterly statements. If you're able to catch this and take corrective action, you're able to reduce the risk. That's the only thing you can do in the play.
Vivek also brought up this point. The digital lending guidelines is very all-encompassing, right? Like, if any portion of the journey is digital, which today I don't know which bank or NBFC doesn't have some portion of the journey which is digital, then digital lending guidelines apply to you and to the bank or the financial institution. So by that definition, almost all lending we do in India is digital lending today.
Which is the best investments in technology out there? SBI. Look at the YONO app.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
Perfect. I think on that note, we'll wrap this up. I really appreciate my panelists keeping it real, keeping it simple, dhande ki baat, real numbers, real challenges, real issues. I hope you were able to take something back. But on a closing note, I have to say this was a session on technology, on the role of LSPs, and I think Tanya did a wonderful job making LSPs a little more valuable and sexier. We do really do some work. Let's together as an industry really make loan into more of a sexier product like credit financing. We're ultimately boosting the economy of this country. And so to end in the famous words of a very, very dear mentor guide of mine, Sharat Sharma, who runs iSpirit, he really very strongly and passionately says this: this is priority sector lending. We need to focus in emerging markets like India on priority sector lending because we don't need to fuel consumption. For all of us to buy one more fridge, one more TV, let's not fuel consumption lending, but let's really fuel business lending. वो छोटे वर्कशॉप वाले को 3 महीने का पैसा देगा, वो ज़्यादा चेयर बनाएगा, वो बेचेगा, he'll drive employment, ultimately driving consumption and driving our economy. So on that note, I really thank all my panelists and thank you very much.
It was indeed a very interesting session, sir. Thank you so much for carrying it out. Now I would like to request you to kindly felicitate our panelists. To begin with, Mr. Anil Pinnapala, founder and CEO of Vivifin. Please bring your hands together, everyone. Thank you. Next, Ms. Riddhi Dungusre, co-founder Lakshmi. Next, Mr. Deepak Jain, co-founder Flexi Loans. And last but not the least, Ms. Tanya Chadha, Chief Business Officer, Ugro Capital Limited.
Pleasure.
And not to miss, I would like to request Mr. K.K. Gupta sir to kindly felicitate our moderator. We are going ahead with the co-lending awards, everyone, right after this session. So we'll request the delegates to be with us in this room. A group photo, sir. Gupta sir, group photo.